What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Real Talk NFT podcast. Super excited today to have a special guest on. We have Erik Mendelson here from OneOf, but not only that, he wears many hats as I saw in his bio. So I'm gonna let yourself introduce, OneOf yourself because you wear a lot of hats. You have a music app. You are a crypto licensed broker. I don't even know where to start. So how about Erik? You just kick us off.
Erik Mendelson. First and foremost, I'm a recovering music executive. So I made my early career in the music industry, got into technology around 7 or 8 years ago, won TechCrunch Disrupt in New York City for my music application, launched probably one of the first social tokens that was going to reward musicians and fans for discovering content, musicians for creating content. That was around 2017, 2018. And then I guess at the start of COVID, I was very instrumental in some of the earliest music NFT releases, specifically Tory Lanez, Currency, Tekashi 69. This was when people were just starting to learn about NFTs. Like the masses were starting to learn about NFTs, and Tory Lanez was the biggest hip hop artist at the time to ever release an NFT, and we sold $500,000 worth of NFTs under 90 seconds. At that time, every record label and publisher and artist that was basically laughing at me in 2017 and 2018 for talking to them about social tokens and NFTs were calling me back for meetings in their office because they wanted me to consult with them about NFT drops for their own artist. And I passed on all of those consulting opportunities or job opportunities. And after I did those first 3 drops as an advisor for Bondly Finance, which is now called Forge, which is an Animoco Brands company, I was hired by OneOf to run their blockchain business development strategies because there's very few people in the world that have the experience that I do on the music side as a music executive, and now on the blockchain Web3 side. So I head up blockchain business development strategies at OneOf, which is an NFT platform and strategy company that raised over $70 million as a startup, and we're making waves in the industry.
How did you have the foresight, and you coming from the music exec world, how did you get the foresight to see that social tokens, music, NFTs were going to be a hit, especially for artists?
I generated over $20 million in the music industry for artists that I managed or signed, and I've received royalty checks that maybe accounted for $100,000. So the music industry is historically an opaque industry where strategic accounting is part of their business practices, i.e. ripping off artists is part of their business practices. So when I discovered blockchain technology around 2015 and 2016, I went down that rabbit hole that we all do. And I looked at what problems can blockchain solve for the world. And I was obviously blown away by it. But then more granularly, I took a look at what pain points could it solve for the music industry as it relates to transparency, artist remuneration, et cetera. And then even more granular than that, as I said at the time, I was building a music application, and I was trying to see how I can fit this in, if it made sense to fit it into my structure. And what I realized at the time, this was in 2016, 2017, was that, and now we all know this, but we provide our data to these large social platforms, and we get a free service. Some of us like this free service, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, et cetera. Some of us don't. Regardless of your opinions of whether you like the service or not, one thing holds true is that we are the product of these services, and they use their data and they make billions of dollars and in return give us a free service. And I looked at blockchain and social tokens as a way for the user that helps to grow these platforms, that contributes to the network effects of these platforms, to be compensated a little bit. So if Facebook told me tomorrow, Erik, I'm going to make $5,000 off of your data, but I'm going to give you $500 of that, I'm okay. I probably will be okay with that because I know they disclose how much they're making off my data. They're saying, here's a little piece, not the whole piece. We're still a company. We still have to operate, but we're going to give you a little piece for being a part of this ecosystem. So to me, that is the biggest promise that blockchain technology has for applications and for the music industry, is the ability to reward fans for discovering content, the ability to reward creators for creating that content, and so that these applications can live holistically with the ecosystems that help drive their communities or help drive the profitability of their companies. I believe that NFTs are just the start of this process. I think that NFTs have been an easy way for the layperson to understand maybe what smart contracts are, like take a look at what the utilities of smart contracts are. And I think that NFTs are the easiest way to drive adoption for the layperson who is not in the Web3 space currently. And that's OneOf's objective, is to drive the next 100 million new users into this space through an onboarding process that's less than 2 minutes, where they can use their credit card or PayPal to buy NFTs. And I believe that we are the simplest on-ramp for Web2, non-Web3 native users to come on to the Web3 space. And once we hit that out of the park, there's no telling where this space can go.
Yeah, that's amazing. One of the first signs of adoption that I've been seeing recently is bigger brands coming on board, and Starbucks being one of the biggest tenants, onboarding close to 24 million people already onto their loyalty program, and slowly onboarding the new Web3 members onto their space. So yeah, platforms like yourself definitely are one of the drivers here, and very, very important. And I remember did one of the first launches that I've ever seen in the NFT space with a Notorious B.I.G. So I definitely remember that a while back, actually. How long has it been now?
What, the Notorious B.I.G. project?
OneOf.
Oh, OneOf, a little over a year and a half. A little over a year and a half is when OneOf came into the world here.
So OneOf focuses right now primarily on music, sports, and lifestyle. How did you pick that? Are you going to branch into other things in the future?
Half of OneOf's company when we started came from the music industry, including myself. What people may or may not know this, but we're partially owned by Quincy Jones, who is easily the biggest music producer in the world. So Quincy Jones is not only a partner in the company, he's also an investor in the company. So we have Quincy Jones Productions as a partner in OneOf, based in LA, doing all of our music related deals. And the CEO, Lynn Dye, also comes from the music industry, as do I, as do both of our co-founders, Josh James and Adam, who Adam runs Quincy Jones Productions and Quincy Jones Family Office. So we have our base and our roots were in music. After we launched music, we quickly realized that we weren't going to have a completely scalable business just doing music. So we got into sports. And what we've realized now is we're going to be more selective with what IP related drops we do, both on the music and sports side, because as you mentioned, with Starbucks, we're really heavily getting into the brand space, offering solutions that for brands that make it easy for their customers via their membership loyalty programs to come into the Web3 space without disrupting what these Web2 based companies are already doing, without making the process too complicated. Because again, we are the simplest software solution for an NFT marketplace in the world, in my opinion. And we also have a really robust team that can execute strategy, which is also part of my responsibility. Before Starbucks made their announcement, we announced our collaboration with eBay, which is easily one of the biggest Web2 legacy companies. I think they have 170 million users or something like that. And we also recently have partnered with American Express. So American Express led an investment in our recent round, which I was a part of, and very, very proud to have executed that deal. And we are also somewhat of a software partner with Amex as they come into this Web3 space. We're obviously under NDAs with certain things that we're doing with Amex, but I will say overall with brands, we are really looking heavily into their loyalty and membership clubs and figuring out ways that our software and our team strategy can kind of fulfill a hole in their workforce and provide them with the expertise in this space that they may lack. So the tail end of this year, moving into 2023, we are really brand focused in helping those brands come into this space.
I was going to say, if you had any alpha on American Express, because I have 4 American Express cards and I would absolutely love some NFT integration and activations with them because I spend so much with them. So I imagine there will be some fun stuff coming along because they already curate experiences and have connections with hotels and whatnot. The world's like the oyster in that aspect.
Yeah, again, I can't talk really too much about what we're doing. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised, and I will send the executives at Amex this interview and your comment. So I do appreciate that. I believe that Abra announced a credit card partnership with Amex, which I signed up for early. So I'm really looking forward to the Abra credit card on Amex. Hopefully that comes to fruition. That would be pretty amazing. I also believe that American Express invested into Abra probably in 2016, 17, or 2018. So American Express has been playing around a little bit in the blockchain space with some of their investments. I believe that we're their most recent investment. So I think that Amex customers will be pleasantly surprised about the progressive thought process and nature that Amex is taking in this space that makes it right for their customers and their cardholders.
That's amazing to hear and to see in the space that finally, from when you learned about crypto back in 2015, 16, that adoption is actually through NFTs, right? Adoption is not through cryptocurrency as one might have thought. I'm super excited to finally see some sort of activation with the average person through a Starbucks app or even American Express app in the future. So my question is this: sorry, go ahead.
Let me say this before you ask your question. That was actually a really good point that you made. I mean, it's kind of two separate worlds that kind of intersect at certain points. Mm-hmm. I come from the crypto space, right? Before there was NFTs, I was buying crypto. I'm a crypto degenerate. Now I'm an NFT degenerate. So I'm just an overall degenerate. But because we are like an easy to use fiat on-ramping platform, I believe over 90% of our customers, their first NFT purchase is on the OneOf platform because of our ease of use. Those customers, for the most part, do not own cryptocurrency. Whereas my friends who come from the crypto space are heavily in crypto, and some of them have now come into the NFT space. So it's always unique when I find, and a lot of them are, again, our customers. When I talk to NFT degenerates or NFT collectors who own no crypto, because I would assume, or a layperson may assume, that, oh, they're buying NFTs because they've been in Web3 early, they've been in crypto very early, and this is just an easy progression for them to just collect NFTs. And what we're seeing is that's at least for our customer base, that's not necessarily the case. I don't know how it is on OpenSea or Rarible or some of the other NFT marketplaces out there, but for our customers, where we're trying to bring on those lay people, those non-crypto savvy users, they don't have crypto. A lot of them don't even really care about it. I do, but many of our customers do not. So it's an interesting intersection of personalities that we see.
Yeah, I'm excited for it because these are one of the things that crypto heads been wanting for a long time, right? And we're seeing it through NFTs. So my question is, you have insight unlike any other platform. You work directly with musicians and brands intimately. The collaborations that you've done already, I've seen is pretty exclusive and intimate. Specifically with Doja Cat, for example, you can get access to one of her concerts, and more so, you are offered a chance if you have one of the more rare NFTs to get a JBL product every single year. Is that in perpetuity? Did I read that correctly?
Yeah. Again, we didn't execute the deal with JBL per se. That came, I believe, from Doja Cat's team. But yeah, you read that correctly. I mean, in addition to Doja Cat, we obviously worked with the Whitney Houston estate. One project that I was intimately involved in was the Biggie Smalls Notorious B.I.G. collection that we just did. We worked closely with his mother and Biggie's manager. So that was, we worked with Valletta Wallace. That was a remarkable experience for our team. In my opinion, Biggie is the biggest rapper of all time. I grew up in New York City. It was a complete honor to work on that project. And from that project, we were able to create a DAO. I'm not sure if you're aware or if you own a Biggie, but we created a collective around that PFP project. So we released 3,000 Biggie NFTs, and we created the Sky's the Limit collective, after his popular song, Sky's the Limit. And we have ownership, or the collective now has ownership over Biggie's first recorded rap ever, which is the Fulton Freestyle, which is in a lot of his documentaries. So the collective has ownership of that record. And when that record generates licensing royalties by other musicians sampling it or using it, that money comes back into the collective, and then the collective gets to decide, essentially a DAO structure. They get to decide what to do with those funds, specifically in the Web3 space. So they can buy cryptocurrency with it. They can buy metaverse property with it. They can reinvest that money, so to speak, metaverse or Web3 initiatives. They can't distribute that money to themselves for legal reasons. But we're really happy to launch that, and I believe that's going to set a precedent of what other musicians can do or what other estates can do. You mentioned at the start, like, Eric, how did you know? I believe I'm a futurist. I see 6 months to a year past where everyone sees, sometimes even 2 years past where everyone sees. And I believe, like, what we're doing with the Sky's the Limit collective, the Biggie Smalls collective, I believe that's where the space is going to be in 6 months to a year from now. So I'm really proud that OneOf decided to execute that initiative, which we're still in the process of doing. In addition to Biggie, we've worked with Glow Gang, Chief Keef. We've worked with a lot. Like, right now, we're a curated marketplace, meaning all of the projects, both on the sports side, working with Muhammad Ali, Jerry Rice, Emmett Smith, Michael Phelps. And then on the music side, which we mentioned some of the artists we work with on the music side, all of those projects come through our music or sports partnerships division, myself included. What we're going to release, I believe, in the first quarter of 2023, which I'm also excited about, is a self-minting platform where artists have the ability to mint on OneOf for free via the Polygon blockchain. Without having to spend any money for the first few mints that they do. So for me, that's going to bring more adoption, hopefully more users onto our platform. Now, these individuals may not get the white glove approach that we offer a Biggie estate or a Doja Cat or a Whitney Houston estate. But if we see these artists and these creators bubbling up on our self-minting system, then myself or any one of our other team members could always reach out to them and do a bigger partnership deal where we try to push their project to the masses. At the very least, they will have access to our robust Discord community, which I believe is like 25,000 strong right now. So they'll already have, these artists that are self-minting on our platform will already have the ability to promote their projects to our already robust community, which I think is a really strong value proposition as we move into 2023. Especially as other marketplaces are calling into question like royalties for secondary sales, which is OneOf is a big proponent of making sure the creators come first in all of our deals and everything that we do. And I don't see us getting rid of secondary royalty, a sharing of secondary royalty sales ever. That's not what our company is built on, creators and artists first.
I completely agree. I think royalties should be here to stay, definitely for the creators and also in the future for the community, because now they could play a part, which they've never been able to do, as you mentioned with the DAO. And I actually got goosebumps when you're talking about the DAO, because that's just an inkling of what future utility that can happen, just usage of the first rights of generated from the rap song from Biggie, which I'm a big fan of, by the way. I'm an 80s baby. I grew up with Tupac and Biggie Smalls. So even though I'm on the West Coast, I love him. He's amazing. And I've seen other platforms like Royal and Legend come out, but you guys, that's the first time I heard of a DAO forming off of a Biggie Smalls question. That's amazing. So you being a futurist, that was actually one of my questions. The DAO being one of the biggest utilities that you see, have you or a brand that you work with mentioned any activations or creative utility for NFTs that you can even disclose to us at all?
So can't disclose any of the ongoing conversations that we're having with clients, brands, and artists, but I will discuss what I think the NFT space is heading in 2023. Obviously, I mentioned the community DAO that we have set up around the rights of this Biggie Smalls exclusive record. His first recording of him rapping ever, which is pretty unique. This is just a starting point of fractional ownership of music rights, of songs, or it could be fractional ownership of fine art. Basically creating fractional ownership of current illiquid assets. There's only about 5 or 6 investors, and these are multi-billion-dollar companies that invest in music rights because they have the balance sheet to buy catalogs. They have the balance sheet to invest in the music rights of artists. And these are typically artists that already have a 7 or 8 year history of royalties or 5+ year history of royalties. These funds are not usually set up for developing artists. But there are artists that may not have 5+ years of royalty history, or there may be investors that want to invest in music rights, but they don't have $1 billion on their balance sheet. So I'm really excited that I believe, OneOf will figure out how to fractionalize the ownership of songs so that we can make these illiquid assets liquid, so that community members, this would, I believe, be some sort of a registered security. Don't quote me on this. I'm not a lawyer, so not legal or financial advice. But we'll be able to open up these opportunities to a global buyer pool, where right now that buyer pool is only 5 or 6 major companies, and we as the lay people have no access to that. So I'm really bullish on that. I'm also really bullish that we are in the process of developing a Web3 game. Maybe play to earn, may not be play to earn. Play to earn may have run its course. We'll see. But I believe that being able to own, and I'm not a gamer, but my son, who spends daddy's $300 a week on Fortnite skins, is just driving me nuts.
Oh my gosh!
Shut off my credit card. But regardless of me shutting off his credit card, I say, my son's name's Tristan. I say, Tristan, this Travis Scott skin that you bought, are you able to resell it? Does it give you any like value in the game? Do you play better in the games? Like, no, daddy, I just want it because I'm cool and my friends have it. Well, my son can still be cool and his friends can still have it. But with Web3 assets that are owned by the user, there's now a secondary market when my son is done playing with that Travis Scott Fortnite skin, which, by the way, he hasn't played with in like a year, he can now take that Travis Scott skin and sell it to someone else who may not have been able to get it at the time or who may want it as a collectible item. So I think that Web3 NFTs are going to create a collectible and secondary market for in-game items which are owned by the user and not owned necessarily by the publisher that has a tradable secondary market. So those are kind of the areas that I'm really focused on, as well as the phygital space. I mean, I know that there's been plenty of projects that have done phygital collaborations. I was actually reluctant to buy NFTs because I was like, I kind of want the physical piece. Like the art is fantastic. Trevor Jones, Tristan Eden. Like I love their art. I love Trevor Jones' art. I love Tristan Eden's art. In fact, one of my friends is supposed to be sending me one of their NFTs today so I could print it out. But there you go. I have to print it out. I want to print out Tristan Eden's art. I want to print out Trevor Jones' art because I want it on my wall. I don't just necessarily want it on my laptop or my phone because the art is just fantastic. So when we can bridge that gap between the physical and the digital, and we come up with phygital, I think that that's going to be a very big trend in 2023. Also, we just saw the Bored Apes announced a partnership with Timex. I think a Timex watch is. I think it's like $50 or $100 to buy a Timex watch, but with the Bored Ape collaboration, it's like $2,000 or 2 or 3 ETH right now. So that just shows you the power of when the physical and the digital collaborate. And I know that those watches will more than likely sell out. I was at a conference recently where I saw this Bored Ape, chess piece. And it's like this is right here on my desk. I mean, this is just the kind of cool shit that I see, trending in 2023.
Definitely. I'm not in my normal studio. I have a bunch of NFT printouts, like you said, art, collectibles, Murakami flower, toys. Yeah. Definitely, I am a big collector of that space, NFT space, the digital space. And that leads me to my next question. And you touched on it really heavily and beyond my expectations of, an individual or community member being able to diversify their investments into, a book of music in the future. That's something that, wow, that blows my mind. Like a Fundrise or a Masterworks for the music catalog industry. On the counterpart of that, since you're a futurist and you could probably see far in the future than I can, what's your thoughts on collateralizing collections for the community? Let's say I have, like your son. Let's say he has a war chest of Fortnite skins, and there is a platform that allows them to collateralize that and leverage against it. I mean, is that a dangerous slippery slope? Where do you see people adopting that? Is that coming? I just heard of that, and I thought that was absolutely, mind-boggling.
At the start of what year are we in? At the start of 2022, I wrote a company manifesto for the OneOf executives. And I was only at the company for 4 months. The company wasn't that old at the time. And I told them that I felt like 2022, the year we're in now, was going to be the year for the collateralized NFT. And there are other platforms out there that are doing a really, really good job of the software behind collateralizing NFTs. I am so glad that my CEO Lynn did not listen to me. I'm so glad that we didn't go down that path. I mean, what we see happening with collateralized lending platforms in the crypto space with Celsius, which I'm a victim of, by the way, Voyager, FTX, but really Celsius and BlockFi, which were the two biggest crypto lending platforms. It's really hard for me to digest that NFT lending platforms are any safer than these two platforms that claim bankruptcy. There's way more volatility in the NFT space. There's considerably less of an adoption pool and buyer pool for NFTs than there are for cryptocurrency. I mean, I think the amount of unique Bored Ape yacht holders is like 4,000 or 5,000. The amount of unique Biggie Smalls collectors is like 1,700. The amount of unique Glow Gang, which is an amazing project that we released, uniques is like 1,200 customers. The amount of people that own Bitcoin is significantly more than that. And I just feel like the collateralized NFT space, I think that it has the potential to really burn people because there's only maybe like 10 blue chip companies that maybe have some sort of price stability. If the pricing for NFTs become more stable, then collateralizing NFTs just makes sense. But right now, the whole market is not stable from crypto on down. and I would probably recommend avoiding collateralizing NFTs either on the lending side of lending out your NFT or borrowing against. I would just probably avoid that right now. Not financial or legal advice. Like I said at the beginning of this year, I was very bullish on it because, again, I'm a fan of making illiquid assets liquid, and there's really not that many NFT buyers if you look at it from a macro level.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm an NFT holder and I want to hold on my NFTs, but I needed some liquidity, maybe I want to buy Bitcoin or pay off a student loan or whatever it is, I certainly would love to collateralize that asset because it makes it, somewhat liquid. But the market is just too in flux right now for me to do that. But I do have my eye on the collateralized lending space.
Yeah, definitely not stable right now, but maybe far in the future that will be a thing.
Yes.
You have insight into data that no other people have. Has there been any unique data points that clients have pointed out to you or that you have seen from a OneOf platform that you can share with us at all? Anything that not normally that you would have without Web3, without blockchain?
I mean, on average, I feel like collectors try to collect 2 to 3 NFTs in a PFP collection they really like. At OneOf, the vast majority, I think it's 90%, or it changes, probably around 90%, if not higher, are buying NFTs with their credit card because we just offer that type of solution for the clients. It's also why we're landing deals with Amex and eBay and others that we'll be announcing in 2023 because they feel like we're the easiest way for their clients to onboard into the Web3 space because we've had history in execution and proven results in that space. And we're a very well-funded company, so they know that we're not going to be out of business tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, those are those are kind of the data points that I can, reveal today.
Yeah, now I'm sure there'll be plenty more down the road. And for big brands that are coming in 2021, if you didn't have an NFT launch, you were, not the cool kid in club. In 2022, everyone kind of shied away from it. They're not using the term NFT as much. We see that with Starbucks. We see that with Reddit. Brands now, because you work with them so much, are they rolling out a 10-year roadmap? Are they still testing the waters? Where are they at?
Yeah, I think testing the waters is a good explanation. I wouldn't say they're rolling out a 10-year roadmap. I say that they're trying to dip their toes in the space. There are some brands that we've spoken with where they don't want their NFTs to be tradable because they don't want to go afoul of some sort of securities law out there. But obviously, if the NFT isn't tradable, it's not really an NFT. If it's not on blockchain, it's not really an NFT. It's essentially just a digital collectible. And I do think that we're going to see the vernacular of NFTs change. I think that NFTs have somewhat of a bad connotation to it or a bad perception from the layperson outside of the Web3 space. So I can easily see companies like OneOf and others starting to use the term digital collectibles when really they're referring to NFTs. It's also self-explanatory. Oh, digital collectible. Okay, cool. Oh, NFT. Well, what's that? I'm sure your relatives like, what's an NFT? But when you say digital collectible, they're like, oh, okay, I kind of understand what a digital collectible is. So I just think that we're just going to be moving into the change of vernacular to kind of change people's perceptions. Especially music artists. One of the things that I've noticed is that the collections that obviously do really, really well are original IP. The first time that they've come to life in the world is through an NFT platform. It's not necessarily a music artist that's looking for short-term, capital gain. Whereas when we pick artists to work with, we like to think that they have a 2-year vision for their digital personality in the Web3 NFT space. What we're realizing is that most artists, quite frankly, don't. They don't want to put in the time and the effort to get into the community, to get into the chats, to really learn about the space. They probably have some business manager or some lawyer telling them, hey, the NFT space is hot, get in now, it may not be here in 6 months. They get in, they do a really cool art, a really cool campaign, but their vision doesn't have the type of vision that, let's say, a Glow Gang collection has or the Biggie collection that we're doing has. So I like to see OneOf doing more projects like that. I like to see the space doing more projects focused on IP creators that really believe in the NFT space and understand it and are not going to go away tomorrow, that are going to put in the time to develop their brands over the course of a year, 2 or 3 years from now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's projects that I would like to be a part of. And I think most collectors would want to be a part of projects that will be here for the long run and constantly engaging the community, in a unique way and providing benefits for each other.
That's right.
So glad to hear that OneOf is, has that foresight and looking forward to the second, third iterations or drops of NFTs, not just like a one-time thing or one-time cash grab. Yeah, we covered a lot here, Erik. One last personal question. I see that you are the number one crypto licensed broker. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm also a licensed real estate agent. I'm the number one crypto licensed real estate agent in America. I've conducted over $20 million in transactions, and where I don't believe that anyone should be collateralizing their NFTs right now. Most of my $20 million in real estate transactions have been done by my clients collateralizing their crypto. So I have a strategy that allows my clients to borrow against their cryptocurrency to leverage that first asset crypto to then buy another asset property. I was kind of the first one in the world, I think, to offer this type of solution to my clients. I don't handle the financing. What I do is I recommend solutions for them. And then as a real estate agent, I go out there and find their property. And the reason that I do that and the reason my clients really prefer that is three reasons. Number one, a lot of my clients are OG Bitcoiners. They've had Bitcoin for a very long time. So having that Bitcoin, like owning an NFT, like the original NFT, is very sentimental to them. It's going to be very hard to get the first person who bought a Bored Ape to sell that Bored Ape. Like they were in early, they got it for, I don't know, $100, and they don't want to get rid of it. It has a sentimental meaning to them. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. They don't want to get rid of it. They don't want that Bitcoin commingled anywhere else. So they don't do it. But the major reason that my strategy works for most of my clients is that if they bought Bitcoin when it was $1,000, and most of my clients had Bitcoin when it was less than that, but if they bought Bitcoin when it was 1,000 and they then used it when it was 60,000 or sold it when it was 60, or if they bought bananas, a haircut, or property, the $59,000 difference, they're paying a capital gains on that, anywhere from, let's say, 15 to 30%. Again, not a CPA. If they held it for less than a year, they're paying 30% capital gains tax. If they held that gain for longer than a year, I think it's 20% capital gains tax or something like that. So that $1 million property, if they were using Bitcoin to buy it, they'd actually be spending $1.2 or $1.3 million when you factor in taxes. They just don't want to do that. Who does? They want to minimize their tax liability legally by avoiding that capital gains. When you borrow against an asset, you avoid capital gains completely until you sell that asset. Number two. Number three, and I kind of touched on this, my clients believe that the biggest asset that they hold is Bitcoin. The more so than the property that they may buy. So while property is historically a great wealth generator, a great wealth builder, generally real estate has historically gone up in value. They believe that Bitcoin will go up in value more than their property in a shorter amount of time. So why would they ever sell an asset when they believe so much in the long-term value of Bitcoin? And my strategy allows them it hits all their sweet spots. They don't have to sell the crypto. They can borrow against it. They can not pay capital gains because they're borrowing money. They can then use that money as a down payment for a house or to pay the house off in full. My only recommendation to my clients is do not over leverage your portfolios. So if you're worth 10, 20, 30, 40 million in Bitcoin, which many of my clients are, do not go buy a $20, $30 million house. Go buy a modest $5 million house, because when the market turns, as it has from its peak, right, 60 down or 19, then they won't be in a crazy margin call situation where they have to pay more Bitcoin to the crypto lender or give more Bitcoin to the crypto lender until the market kind of plays itself out. So I try to stay away from clients, and I haven't had any. Well, there's maybe one that have really leveraged beyond probably what they should have. And again, I'm not their financial planner. I am not their CPA or their attorney, so I cannot stop them from doing it. And I will obviously execute the transaction because I legally have to execute the transaction as a real estate agent, but I strongly advise them not to over collateralize. And what we see going on with the platforms that have gone bankrupt, from FTX to Celsius to BlockFi and who knows what else is going to happen, they were over collateralizing or under collateralizing loans. They were doing risky bets. I'm not with all that shit. Like I'm not. Like let's be smart here, because we have this amazing technology that is now going to be scrutinized to hell in 2023 because of some really smart people who made a lot of dumb decisions that are unfortunately affecting a lot of people's livelihoods. And I'm not with that at all. So, but yes, I am the top real estate agent in crypto in the world, quite frankly. Humble brag.
Well, no, I truly appreciate your unique perspective here, because I can tell that you don't over leverage, because you've been in the space since 2015, and you understand the ebbs and flows of Bitcoin. And we've been through 2 cycles since that time, and tying it with real estate, that's a stable asset. I'm sure you understand finance more than the average person. And that's the one thing I appreciate about Web3 and NFTs. Well, prior to getting in NFTs myself, I'm on a fire journey, which is, I'm improving my financial literacy. But I really see NFTs and Web3, although maybe that's not what it was meant for. It's really educating the new generation about assets, number one, leverage, number two, even if we did not want that to be kind of like the topic it is now, right? So I think that this new generation is going to be poised to really, propel to the next level of everything that they got coming for them with this technology.
And again, not financial advice, but what the number one strategy of investing is diversification. And what we see is when people have too many eggs in one basket, that basket is liable to break. And guess what? It has broken in the crypto space. So, my I guess condolences, and my heart goes out to anyone that's been affected from what's happening in the crypto space. I've personally been affected by it, but because I've diversified where I store my crypto or what other investments I have, it's not going to be, fortunately, the death of me. And I hope it's not the death. I really mean that for anyone, because we will get through it. I've seen these cycles in cryptocurrency. I think it's a little naive when people call what's happening right now crypto winter. I think it's way more catastrophic than crypto winter. This is not something that's around for 3 or 4 months. This black eye is going to last us for a very, very, very long time. I was just watching the FTX congressional hearing today, and one of the congressmen said that the Madoff scandal happened and the Madoff Ponzi scheme happened in 2008, and they just started, I think, giving out some money from that yesterday. Wow. So it's taken 14 years for some people to get a little bit of remuneration from that Ponzi scheme. And I certainly don't think that what's happening in crypto now is going to take another 14 years to play out. I certainly don't hope so. But calling this crypto winter is just naive, in my opinion. It's like putting lipstick on a pig.
Absolutely. I think just last year we got some money back from the Mt. Gox incident as well. So absolutely. Well, I truly appreciate your insight, and you're at the cutting edge, like from music from 2016, 17 to OneOf, really executing that for the artists, and they're actually seeing the benefits of that. I'm so excited to get you back a year from now. I don't know how many more hats you're going to wear then, but I think you're going to be on the cutting edge then as well.
I'll still be at OneOf, and I'll still be a real estate agent. That much I know.
Awesome. It was a pleasure having you, Erik. I'd love to have you back, and I'd love to definitely talk NFTs whenever you want to.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love your listeners to follow me on social media. It's Erik Answerman with a K, so ErikAnswerman on Instagram and Twitter, and also follow my company or the company I work for, OneOf NFT, ONEOF NFT on Twitter and Instagram.
Yep, I'll definitely put all the links down on the show notes below. Thank you so much, Erik, for joining us.
I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.